Hi and welcome to a Twinmotion, the making of tutorial by ISM TechBase. My name is Carsten MD. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to get notified when a new video is out by clicking on the little bell. And every so often, if you really like a video, please click the like button because this will help other Twinmotion users too and put up my ranking on YouTube. Alright, let's start with the making of this garden path. We now like adding the plants and some textures and make them look really nice. Now, before I add any plants, let me look at the textures because textures are pretty important. So if I zoom in here now, you can see I've got some stone textures on those stones now. Let me go to take a normal stone texture we have in the default Twinmotion library. So if I go to stones, you can scroll down and you can obviously take some of this just as example. Let me move this in, but you can see even if I pick this now and make it a bit larger, let me go to properties and we maybe scale this a bit up. It just doesn't look as good because you can see it's not really, how is it? It looks pretty repetitive to me and not enough random, and also it is a bit, the sides, if you look at the sides, let me slow down like a little bit. You can see at the sides here, it doesn't look that good. I mean, look, it's usable, absolutely, but I would not recommend this as a default setting for my stones I'm doing. But look, you can use it absolutely. To make it look better, I think you need a stone texture that has no divisions in it, like this one has. So what I use as example, just like a stone plate texture, right? There's no divisions, nothing in it. So what you do is, so let me go back to Twinmotion and we do an undo step here. Couple undo steps, there we go. Okay, so we got this one here. So that's the map I applied to those stones. Let me pick this and you can see I obviously changed some of the scale and you can move it around depending on, like in the offset, you see you can offset it. That's just the normal Twinmotion stuff you can to make it look a bit more random. So let me undo those two steps because I'm quite happy with the size of the stone texture. The second bit is, you can see if you zoom in a little bit, it is quite nice. It has a normal map on it. Now, many times you get a nice texture, you find it online, do it yourself. You don't really have a normal map. All right, there is textures around with normal maps, obviously, but let's just say you find a nice texture, no normal map. So what you do is it's quite easy to create your own normal map online. I'll show you how to do this. You go online and there is a great free tool called Normal Map Online. So what you do is you just drag your texture you want and you drag it into here. So if I go back to my Twinmotion, let me do this with the mulch texture. I've done this with the mulch texture. You see the mulch here? So I needed a bit of a normal map. So what I did is I go to this Normal Map Online. I show you I've got the texture here. I used mulch 05. So what you do is you just click and you actually drag it on here and you let go. So what it does is it automatically creates this normal map for you. You can still change the strength level, the level. See if I can, go here. You can see on this side straight away. You can move yourself with the mouse and you can see how the normal map is affecting your real color map. Okay, I usually leave it just at the normal default setting. It is pretty good. And all you do is, if you're happy after, you click download and you save it with a name and you got your normal map ready to use in Twinmotion with this mulch as example. So this is a nice little tip for you in the future to create your own normal maps. Right, let's go back. So I've done this with the mulch, I've done this with the stones, and also if I zoom in a little bit more, I've done this with the gravel. Okay, all those maps, I created the normal map on that free Normal Map Online tool. Great, so it's important if I click on this, let me maybe go to the stones here. I clicked on it. You can see if we go now to that normal map I applied, normal map, obviously I had to load it. And then it depends, at the moment I've got it on 100%, might be a bit much. So you see if you go back 0, 100, 100 could be a bit much. Just go down a little bit, and then obviously you have to do some test renders to see if this is what you wanted, especially if you have a close-up render. So keep this in mind. Now for this here, this texture, let me have a quick look. I just clicked on it. Yes, I did add the parallax. Okay, so let me go a bit down here, move in a little bit. I can see I have the depth of field option on in the camera, so let me turn it off quickly. It's easier for the tutorial. Ambient, we got camera, depth of fields, off. All right, that's better. Now let me go back to the properties I had before. Hang on, let me go back to materials. Oh, I just click on it, it's easier. There we go. Okay, so I did tick the parallax. You can see what happens is here. So this is actually in case of just using the normal map, you can also add parallax, and it makes it even more, how you said, it's just a 3D, but you have to be very careful. I mean, I've got 20% intensity. If you go up, it looks really, well, it looks stupid, to be honest. So again, play with this and do some test renders. But in this case, I did turn it on and used parallax. All right, so that's the hints in regards to the textures of this path and also what we have around it. Great, so the next bit is, how do you fill out now, you know, the path next to it with some plants, maybe also the grass. I use some of the normal tools, but there's a couple of hints I can give you to make it look pretty nice. Before we continue, if you're keen to learn some more, check out my website. I got courses, I got ebooks and other stuff that could be useful for you. All right, let me go to plants scatter first. Actually, let me close this quickly because I want to mention something that's quite important for projects in Twinmotion. Make sure you keep everything quite nice in regards to the scene graph. Like, I also renamed it and made it sure, look, it's quite easy to find. I don't have a mess. As you can see, I've got 3 plant folders, even so you could put them all into one plant folder. It's much easier down the track if you work on your project. So I've got plants house, I got plant manual, those are the ones I do manually, and I got plants scatter. I started to scatter first the grass. Okay, now I know some of you have done it before and it's straightforward, but I just wanted to show you a couple of tips. And in case some of you haven't used the scatter or population tool, I'll show you quickly. All you do is you go to populate down here, you click on it, it opens this window, and you go to foliage and you add a couple of like plants or grass pieces. So let me go over here and we go to grass and flowers. You can see I can click and just move this in here, placing one, do another one, dry grass, you move it, oops, gotta keep that open. There we go, dry grass, move it over here and drop it in, and then all you do is you click on one of them or you click on both of them, and then you use the scatter tool. Go here and you add. Now before you do this, it's important, let me close this. The plant scatter, like I said at the very beginning, keep it clean, you see in fast. So what I do is I go here and I right click and I tell it to be as active container, so set active container. So if I do a new scatter now, it will put it into this container. All right, let me go back, populate, oops, there is the properties, and let me start with this one, plus, and I just click. You see it starts populating, clicking again. There you go. So if I go out of this now, it added it in this folder. Okay, so that's how you use the scatter tool. But let me just turn this off now and we keep going with the tutorial. Let me turn this on and you can see, clicking on this, click properties down here. I used not just one grass, I used a couple and scattered them. So you go here to grass, yes. So I can see I used a dry wild grass, a wild grass and a long grass. This just to make it look more random. The other bit is, you probably noticed I did add an extra mulch next to the path, because if you have used scatter before, it does scatter outside of the actually border, the model border. Okay, and so you got to be very careful there. So I just did add some nice plants around it with the mulch, so I don't have the grass straight into my path. You can get rid of it, I'll show you that after with another scatter, but just keep this in mind. Great, so if I go now back to my next one, so that's the grass. So before I keep going, I don't have to explain, obviously, you know, you click on it and you change the size, all this. So this is pretty straightforward, you know, so I don't have to really explain a lot here. Maybe that you can, if you have 3 different grasses, maybe change the dryness a little bit, the tint. So again, they look more random instead of have all the same color tint, the same dryness, and so on. Great, so I did this, let me turn that off. The other one is I scattered plants, and I scattered plants along just this mulch. So I just clicked on the mulch and it will scatter those plants. The plants I have in here, again, I added, you know, a lot of different plants. Obviously you can always erase some. If they are above each other, just click here. You can see it's a bit big. Let me go down. There we go. And you could go and you want to erase some depending what you have. There we go, select it. We got this one, select that one too. There you go, and they're gone. If you make it a bit bigger, it's easier to erase. So keep this in mind. If you have double up plants while you scatter, if you're far away, it doesn't matter. But if you get closer, make sure you delete some of them with the eraser tool. So that's another little hint. And as you can see, just use a lot of different plants when you scatter. It looks more random. Great. The other bit is, let me go back to the next one, turn this off. Then I added some scattered clovers. All right, so if I turn this on with the grass, it does look actually quite cool. See, it's really wild and nice, but again, it looks really random. And for this project, you will see later, that fits perfectly. I don't need to just smooth grass. Now you can see the clover goes into the path. Okay, so let me go to the clovers here, properties, and again you use the eraser, and I really don't want any of them in the path. So zoom out a little bit and make it quite big. So, well, you know, not massive, but just go here. So you have to select, let's select both of them, and you know, you just quickly erase them on the path. You don't really want them on the path, so that's quite important. Again, if you're far away, you probably don't see it too much, but if you get closer, you wouldn't really have clovers on your stone pathway. Great, so that's good. So we have that. If I now go and turn that all on, it looks pretty good. Let me escape. So that's not bad. If I go in here now, let me speed that up a bit. You know, there we go. So that looks already pretty cool. I did add some extra ones, which is on the plants manual. So manual means I really one by one added them in. So let me turn this off and turn this one on. So these are just plants and stone and other like leaves as example. I placed them individually because you can start and try to scatter, but it's really hard to make it look good, and they will be all over the place in each other. It just doesn't look realistic. So you have to spend a little bit more time of adding some manual landscape. If I turn on the scatter, you can see that I tried to add, obviously, if I turn them on and off, I tried to add them in between the scatter plants. As example, you can see here is a little bit, you know, I should really be more careful. But for this menu now, that's good enough. Just go through it and make sure you don't have this happening. But otherwise, it's not too bad actually. And it makes it look just nice and random, to be honest. Now, all those plants I used for the path next to each other, and also with the leaves, they're all in the default library of Twinmotion. I did not download any extra Quixel scans. Those default library items don't actually look pretty good. Now, if you go close, yes, you could of course say, oh, look, some of them don't look 100% realistic. What you do is just replace them with some of the Pixel Mega Scan plants. You know, you delete a couple and replace them. As example, if I go now to my media, I've got a couple of close-ups. Let me have a look at this one as example. Okay, so you could say, oh, you know, if you're not happy and they're not realistic enough, you obviously have to replace the plants close to the camera. What I did, instead of replacing them for now, I just added some blur to the front of the camera. You can see it's blurring out a little bit. That makes them, obviously, you know, you can't really see if they're totally 100% realistic or not, because it starts blurring out. But let me have a look. If I go here and I go to my properties, media properties, so I go to camera, depth of field, and if I turn this off and it renders, you know, you can think, okay, even the edges of the stone, you know, they're a bit sharp. You know, this looks good, but it's not 100% realistic. But look, many clients are more than happy with this. But in case of replacing all this, having more work, how about you just add depth of field a little bit? So let me go back and enable this again. And because it's rendering, you see the edges of the stone, you can see, you know, because it's a bit blurred out because of the depth of field. No need to replace this with anything extra because you close up. So that's just a tip, you know, you can, but that's what I do sometimes. Same thing with some other ones. Let me have a look here. This one here again, yeah. So that's what I did. Now you see, probably I have, well, you probably noticed I have some backgrounds there. So how did I get the background? So let me have a quick look. So I'm getting out quick media mode, and let me go and zoom out a little bit. Great. So what I did is I used Sketchfab for this. So if I go and have a look, Sketchfab, let me open this, and just yeah, let me just show you the first one here, which is Mountain Range 01. So I'm turning this on, and you can see, usually, to be honest, let me zoom out a little bit further. This I put over here because I wanted a view from around this path here, looking that way. Usually, if you use Sketchfab stuff, the scales are usually wrong, to be honest. You gotta be very lucky your scale fits. So what happened is, let me just go to scale. I think this one came in like, I think it was quite small, 0.1, you know, really small. A tip is they usually come in small or big, but they still come in scales of like 10, 100, 1,000. Okay, they're not like 355 or something. So that came in like this. So what I did is, first I go here and obviously scale it by, let me just scale as example by 100, like a round number, which is way too big, you know, I can't even see it. So let me undo this. So I scale it by 10, and I thought, oh, this is getting pretty close already, 10. So again, a little tip, anything coming in from Sketchfab, before you manually increase it, you know, just like this, you can obviously do this, no problem. Try first to use an exact number, like I said, 10, 100, 1,000, or if it's too big, 0.1, 0.01, and so on. Great, so obviously I added this and I moved it into place. So if I go down here to my corner, because that's where I really wanted to stand, you know, I wanted to stand down here, around there, and look at that way. Okay, so you can see I've still got it selected. I could move it around, obviously, you know, up and down, you know, left and right, but I was quite happy with this looking that way. Now you can see there's a hole there, so I would need to maybe go down a bit more and move it that way, or I just move my camera path more this way. Okay, I'm still not happy because this is just a display, by the way. If I get closer, I will get my scatter back. So this edge, I'm just not happy, it's too sharp for me, even if it renders with the grass. I thought, oh, let me add something else. So again, I added something from Sketchfab. What you do is, let me show you quickly, in case you haven't done it before. You go to Sketchfab. I went to, I think I went to Nature and Plants, and I just put in, what did I put? Because I want to put a wall in there. So Nature retaining wall, and I hit enter. And then I will search through Sketchfab, and there's only one here, so Yeah, so I could have used that one, but I didn't. So you'd maybe take nature out, retaining wall. See, there's some more coming up. And you just look for one that sort of you think could fit. By the way, if you found something, make sure you sign into your Epic Game account, because otherwise you can't download it. So I found this one over here. Let me go there, hit F to get closer, turn it on. And that is my retaining wall I chose. Okay, just a little bit. I wanted to show it just a little bit. I have 3 of them. I copied them. There you go. So just so it's over the edge. Okay, you can really see them, not a lot. And if they're too low, they seem a bit low. Well, it depends where you go. Again, it depends where I had my view. Let me have a quick look. I did a finished view here, clicking on this one. Yeah, it's almost too low. All right, let me turn this off, the path riser, so I can just select them and, you know, just raise them a bit. There you go. Beautiful. And that's it. Just again, something to break up the connection between the mountain range and the grass. You don't have to, but I thought I'd do this. So again, I used Sketchfab for this. I also did another view the other way around, and I used the mountain range again. Be careful of one more thing here. If I go to this view, I'll show you. I did use again the, let me go back, media mode, properties. Yes, depth of field. So depends, see there's a little bit of a lake in there. So if I go up, you can see that, which is quite nice, but you have to be careful. Some of the mountain range, the render is not that good if it's close up. So just be careful if you show this. Maybe move the mountain range a bit around till you see something that, see this as example, the texture is just not good enough. Okay, it's blurry, and it's just the resolution is not high enough. So make sure you don't have this, you don't show this. So let me go back to my, all right, if I go back to my media here, which one was it? This one here. Yeah, so you see I did hide a little bit of the bad texture. Obviously, if I turn, let me turn some of the plant manual. Yeah, let me just turn the scatter off. See, this is what I mean here. Okay, so that will not render very nicely. So I put some, yeah, stone in front and further away. I'm sure that's fine if you render, because you really focused right on the, you know, on this path going towards your house. Okay, so this is the making of the path, the surrounding of the path. You know, fill it out with some really nice plants, with some scattering plants in Twinmotion. Let me click quickly on a couple I did. They look pretty great, you know, look at this. And you render this up and it looks quite amazing. Twinmotion, such a good software, and I love it, it's real time. And the path tracer, of course, such a big improvement. So you got this one, I have this one here, just to show the client the path. You saw this one, that one, I quite like this one, looking towards the mountain range, and another one close up here. Okay, just a quick recap of the tutorial. Make sure you use randomness as much as you can. Use Sketchfab for the surroundings, because there's lots you can use. And also for the texture, make sure the textures are good, especially if you get close up. I can show you a couple of renders quickly. This is the close up at 4K. You can, you know, zoom in. It's pretty good actually. So the stones, it looks very good. I'm quite happy with this. And the other one is example bit higher up view at 4K. You know, you can even zoom in a little bit more. Look at this, and it's still really sharp because it's 4K. And I can even see I forgot to erase the clovers along the pathway. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this making of tutorial, and I will do some more in the future.